The Netherlands may be a small country full of tall people, but what about their roller coasters? Are they truly tall? Or does the flat Dutch landscape just make them look bigger than they really are? Today we are counting down the 12 tallest roller coasters in the Netherlands. Yeah, 12. Because we are starting off with a three-way tie. Our list starts off with the newest roller coasters in the country, Joy Chill and Joy Thrill at Walibi Holland. While these Rocky Mountain Construction single roller coasters, or RMC for short, target different audiences, they both climb to a height of 29 meters, or 95 feet. Once they crest the lift hill, the experiences are completely different. Joy Thrill flips riders around, while Joy Chill is more focused on the airtime. I would say Chill is a bit of a stretch, because this ride definitely has some bite. And while these rides aren't that tall, the experience of sitting in the front seat and diving down to the ground all alone is hard to beat. But as I mentioned, it was a three-way tie, so we are going from the newest roller coasters to one of the oldest coasters in the Netherlands, for number 10, Python at the Efteling. And honestly, with how slow the train crawls up that lift hill, Python feels bigger for sure. This classic Vekoma slowly works its way up 29 meters before throwing you in an inversion heavy layout. And because of the complete retrack 7 years ago, Python is smooth as butter. This Dutch classic has had the honor of being the tallest coaster in the Netherlands for about 13 years before it was dethroned. But we will get to that one later. Surprisingly, our next entry on the list is within the same park. Number 9, Baron 1898 at the Efteling. And this feels a bit weird, because Baron 1898 does look a bit taller than the 30 meters or 98 feet it actually is. It is a small dive coaster, one of the smallest in the world even. But while you will be hanging at 30 meters high, the drop goes deeper than that. Baron 1898 will dive into an underground tunnel, which makes the drop 37.5 meters deep. So it has more to offer than 30 meters you see. But for the purpose of this list, you will only go up a 30 meter high mineshaft. And while this is small for a Bolliger Maillard dive coaster, or B&M for short, it more than makes up for it in theming. This may just be one of the best themed dive coasters in the entire world. And with its 30 meters, Baron 1898 is the tallest coaster at the Efteling, even if it's just 1 meter higher than Python. Speaking of Python, that height record got beaten by number 8, Condor at Walibi Holland. Wait, I thought we were doing roller coasters, not torture devices. Oh well, this Vekoma suspended looping coaster, or SLC for short, was built at Walibi in 1994 and stands at 31 meters, or 102 feet. This was the first ever SLC to be built, and you can feel that. At least the ascent to the top of the lift hill is the smoothest part of the coaster, so you can get a nice look at the rest of the park, filled with the other coasters you would rather be riding, just like you would rather be subscribing to the channel. The roughness aside, it was still one of the biggest coasters in the Netherlands, and it is still the tallest inverted coaster in the country. So that does make it unique, and people still queue up for it simply because they won't get the similar experience elsewhere in the country. But does that make Condor a good coaster? Nah. Let's continue with another prototype in Walibi Holland with number 7, Lost Gravity. This Mach Big Dipper stands only 1 meter higher than Condor with 32 meters, or 105 feet. And you wouldn't expect that when you're queuing up for it. The lift hill brings you to this height in no time at all, and it just throws you over into the first drop. This is an insane moment that has you hanging out of your seat the entire way down, especially if you're in a wing seat. Yeah, a wing seat, you heard that right. The outer seats of this prototype don't have any flooring, and you are sitting beside the track. Lost Gravity is truly an underrated roller coaster at Walibi, overshadowed by a few other entries on this list. But don't sleep on this coaster when you're visiting. One moment you're on the top of the lift hill, the next moment you're on the bottom of the drop, wondering what just happened. But the coaster that comes next truly surprised me with its height. And for that, we have to go to the former pony park of the Netherlands. This western themed park launches our next entry onto the list. Number 6, Gold Rush at Attractiepark Slagharen. I never expected Gold Rush to be as tall as it is, but the swing launch throws you up 33 meters or 108 feet into the top hat. And with the speed it gets from the final launch, this element is filled with airtime. Truly an explosive start of this Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster. Gold Rush was built to replace the iconic Schwarzkopf Thunderloop, which had operated at the park for 37 years. It had big shoes to fill, and it truly rose above expectations. The entire layout is pretty short, but it's a blast from start to finish. You will get some excellent airtime and hang time, but most of all, you will end up at 33 meters high before plunging back down into the rest of the layout. And with this height, it is also the tallest launch coaster of the Netherlands. But it's not like it had much contest. So we will be heading from the tallest launch coaster to the tallest wooden coaster with number 5, Troy at Toverland. This wooden beast truly put Toverland on the map for coaster enthusiasts. This roller coaster lifts you up to a height of 35 meters or 115 feet. What follows is a twisted plunge into a wild and out of control layout, filled with airtime moments. Toverland has been working hard to keep Troy a smooth experience, and they have given the first part of this wooden coaster a complete overhaul. The height of this coaster is debatable, however. The roller coaster database, RCDB, lists Troy as 31.9 meters high, or 104 feet. They mention it was taken from the site of Great Coasters International. However, this source is no longer available, and Toverland themselves list Troy as 35 meters high. Since Toverland is actively working on Troy, I will use this value. But even if it's 31.9 meters, it would still make this list. The next coaster, however, was very close to not making this list. This coaster is our number 4, Speed of Sound at Walibi Holland. Built in the year 2000, this Vekoma boomerang was known as La Via Volta. Boomerangs are pulled up backwards to a height of 35.5 meters or 116 feet before they are released into the compact layout. Then they are caught at the other spike, lifted up to the same height and released again to do the same layout in reverse. Depending on where you sit in the train, you likely won't get to the highest point of the roller coaster, but that doesn't make the layout any less forceful. But why was Speed of Sound close to not making the list? So, back in 2007, Walibi announced they would be closing La Via Volta after just 7 years of operation. They sold the train to Pleasurewood Hills, where it still operates to this day on their boomerang, Wipeout. The track of La Via Volta was standing but not operating for 3 years at Walibi Holland, just like this like button. And then, in 2010, they announced they would reopen the coaster as Speed of Sound. So, in 2011, this boomerang reopened with a brand new train with onboard sound and some new scenery. It operates to this day and is able to take the number 4 spot within the tallest coasters of the Netherlands. But which coaster will be kicking off our top 3? It is none other than number 3. Untamed at Walibi Holland. Again, we are taking a small step up, because Untamed lifts you up to 36.5 meters or 120 feet, and it has RMC to thank for this spot. So how did that happen, you may ask? Well, Untamed was built on the skeleton of the Vekoma wooden coaster, Robin Hood. However, Robin Hood was only 32 meters tall. That is still respectable for a wooden coaster, but the RMC decided to make Untamed just a bit taller. So now riders will take a steep plunge to the ground from 36.5 meters high, into the absolutely insane and action-packed layout. Untamed is truly one of RMC's masterpieces, loaded with airtime moments, and the height allows it to do some unusual and unique elements, like the double inverting stall. Because of this, Untamed truly lives up to its name, even if it's one of the smaller RMC hybrid coasters out there. Don't underestimate its bite. So where Untamed rose from the ashes of Robin Hood, we will now head over to number 2, Fenix at Toverland. And this is a nice step up for a change, because this blue giant can be seen from pretty much anywhere in the park. Fenix takes you up to a height of 40 meters or 131 feet, before it dives back down to soar through Avalon. This B&M wing coaster was a truly massive investment from Toverland, along with their newly themed Avalon area, and it is an absolute centerpiece. While the layout is relatively short, the height and speed make it one of the most intense wing coaster experiences in the world. And staring down at the ground as you're entering the dive drop is a truly intimidating experience. Fenix has a few near-miss elements and interacts with the environment around it. In 2022, the helix after the Ibbelman was dismantled, and Toverland placed a Gerstlauer Skyfly, Pixaris, in the middle of it. So next to the intense experience the helix provides, with 5G of positive forces, you are soaring past an active ride and queue, creating an incredibly playful and dynamic scene. The height of Fenix is highlighted by the fact that it's simply one of the highest points on the Toverland skyline. You can't miss the blue track and the winged seats turning upside down before dropping down. But even then, it just can't match up to another blue giant in the Netherlands, which is our number 1, Goliath at Walibi Holland. Though, in all fairness, this one started with green track and purple supports. Goliath is an Intamed mega coaster and held the record for tallest coaster in Benelux until 2021, with a short gap in 2007. But I'll get to that in a different video. Goliath uses a cable lift to bring the riders up to a height of 46.8 meters, or 153 feet. It then drops you into an airtime filled layout, with the bunny hills at the end being an absolute highlight. This Intamin was one of the final investments Six Flags made in the time they owned the park, but it has truly been an icon since. The height may be a bit deceiving, depending on where you stand in the park. When you are approaching the station building, it looks like a huge lift hill reaching into the sky. However, now that Joy has opened up and we have access to that area, you are able to get a better view of the first drop. And honestly, it just doesn't look too high up from that angle. But it is still the tallest coaster in the Netherlands by about 7 meters, or about 2 stories. That can't be denied. But let's be honest, height is only part of the story. Another important aspect is speed. And some Dutch coasters deliver quite a punch without ever climbing this high. Do you want to see which ones straight height for pure adrenaline? Check out this video of the fastest coasters in the Netherlands. It is a ride you don't want to miss.